The morning sun broke gently over the polished glass spires of New Ethelgard, casting warm golden light across a world that had forgotten the sound of blasters and the hum of lightsabers. For 3 years, Rey Skywalker had watched this sanctuary thrive, built on the ideals of unity and light. There were no Sith remnants lurking in the shadows, no Imperial fleets looming on the horizon, and no ancient prophecies weighing down the shoulders of the innocent. It was a rare, fragile paradise, and Rey cherished every quiet moment it offered. Walking through the central gardens, she met Finn near the reflective basins. They sat on the cool stone edge, watching the water ripple in the morning breeze. Finn laughed, reminding her of their chaotic escape from Jakku years ago, when neither of them knew how to fly a freighter or survive a war. Rey smiled, her chest warming as they traded memories from a past that felt a lifetime away. The scorching heat, the smell of recycled oil, and the sheer terror of being hunted across the stars. She squeezed Finn's shoulder, promising him with deep sincerity that she would never forget those early days, the shared fears, and the unspoken bond that had anchored them through the darkest galactic storms. Shortly after, Poe drifted over with 3 hot drinks, grumbling good-naturedly about atmospheric flight regulations on a planet that barely needed a police force. Life was gentle, simple, and whole. Across the garden terraces, Sunny Skywalker stood near the archways, watching the distant gliders glide between the towers. Denry Hemsworth stepped out from the shadows of the archway, wearing his crisp city defense uniform. He walked over with a warm, easy smile, holding 2 small glass cups of warm, spiced tea. He handed one to Sunny, his fingers lingering against hers. Denry talked about his morning rounds, complaining playfully about how quiet the city had been, claiming that keeping the peace was easy when everyone was as hopeful as she was. Sunny laughed, resting her head against his shoulder as they walked along the elevated stone pathways, discussing their plans for the upcoming holiday festivities. Later that evening, on a secluded high-rise balcony overlooking the glowing cityscape, Sunny leaned against the polished marble railing. Beside her stood Denry, his uniform jacket removed and draped over a nearby chair. The night air was mild, carrying the distant scent of night-blooming flowers from the public terrariums below. Denry stepped closer, wrapping his arms around Sunny's waist from behind and resting his chin softly on her shoulder. They watched the light traffic gliders float through the sky like slow-moving stars. Denry turned her gently to face him, his eyes filled with what seemed like unconditional affection. He took her hands in his, speaking in a low, tender whisper about their supposed future together. A peaceful life after his service, perhaps building a small home on the northern terraces where the cliffs met the sea. Sunny smiled, resting her forehead against his chest, completely entranced by his soft words and gentle touch. Denry lifted her chin and kissed her deeply under the twilight sky, promising her that as long as he breathed, no harm would ever touch her or the world her mother had built. When the full darkness fell, the city transformed for the annual Kirbo holidays. Lanterns floated lazily into the night, casting soft red and gold reflections across the metallic streets. Thousands of citizens gathered inside the Grand Republican Free Tower, the towering monument to their new democracy. The air was filled with music, laughter, and the bright chatter of families celebrating years of uninterrupted peace. Rey stood on an observation deck a few miles away, alongside Finn and Poe, watching the tower glow like a beacon against the darkening sky, feeling a profound sense of accomplishment. Then, the world shattered. A deafening roar tore through the night sky as a brilliant, blinding flash swallowed the lower levels of the Republican Free Tower. Within seconds, a rapid sequence of secondary explosions ripped upward through the Durasteel superstructure. Rey watched in horror as the majestic spires buckled, crushing thousands of festive gatherers in a rain of fire, glass, and twisted metal. The entire tower collapsed inward, leaving behind a smoking, cavernous crater in the center of the district. A dark, gaping wound in a city that had forgotten how to bleed. Ray, Finn, and Poe arrived at the edge of the smoking hole within minutes, their hearts heavy with grief and shock. Emergency droids rushed back and forth through the haze, spraying fire-suppressant foam over smoldering girders. Among the emergency droids and frantic first responders stood a tall, charismatic young man named Ben, a high-profile local celebrity born into a powerful family known for corrupt underworld dealings. Ray's instincts flared immediately. Ben had the motive, the wealth, and the shady family connections to orchestrate such a devastating strike. She confronted him in the middle of the chaos, her hand resting near her saber, but Ben adamantly denied any involvement, claiming his own family members were trapped somewhere beneath the rubble. As emergency crews searched the smoldering debris, Dr. Nikkei, a brilliant and respected scientist from the Green Corps Environmental Division, established a mobile command lab near the site. He approached Ray and her team, offering his advanced forensic equipment to analyze the peculiar energy traces left by the blasts. Nikkei set up holographic readouts, meticulously scanning residue samples before turning to Ray with an expression of grave concern. He pretended to research the matter with intense concentration, adjusting his screens before delivering his assessment. He suggested that the bomber was not a mere political radical, but a dangerous zealot, a man who believed in pure chaos and saw the Jedi and their fragile peace as an insurmountable obstacle that needed to be erased. Denry arrived shortly after, looking pale and shaken by the tragedy. He rushed to Sunny's side, pulling her into a protective embrace. Before Ray, Finn, and Poe set out to follow the energy signature's lead, Denry held Sunny by her shoulders, looking intently into her eyes with a facade of tender worry. He cupped her face in his hands, telling her to be careful, pleading with her not to take any unnecessary risks in the unstable streets. Sunny kissed his cheek, reassured by his devotion, unaware of the cold calculation hidden beneath his eyes. Guided by Dr. Nikkei's sensor data, the investigation led Finn and Poe toward the old industrial shipping sectors. Meanwhile, Ray made her way through the upper plazas, still convinced Ben's family network was tied to the attack. She tracked Ben to an underground vault beneath a high-end club owned by his family. Ray cornered him in the dim corridors, demanding answers about his family's illegal shipments. Ben insisted he was clean, claiming someone was using his family's old supply routes without their permission. But before Ray could press him further, a sudden blackout cut power to the entire sublevel. While Ray searched the darkened complex, Poe sliced into a security relay near the perimeter of the original crime scene. Deep within the encrypted files, he recovered corrupted HoloNet footage recorded seconds before the explosion at the tower. The footage revealed a terrifying figure stepping out of the maintenance shafts, a mysterious, hooded Sith Lord, clad in a sleek, modern black mask that obscured all features. The figure moved with unnatural, cold precision, planting military-grade charges with practiced efficiency before melting back into the darkness. Poe broadcasted the footage to Finn and Ray. Tracking the origin of the encrypted signal tied to the bomber's equipment, Ray, Finn, and Sunny followed a digital path that led unexpectedly to a private luxury estate owned by Ben's family on the outskirts of the upper city. Expecting an ambush by the Sith figure, they breached the quiet halls, only to find the estate completely ransacked and stained with fresh blast marks. In the inner sanctuary, they found Ben slumped against a collapsed marble column, mortally wounded and gasping for air. Ray rushed to his side, lifting his head as he coughed blood onto the polished floor. Ben looked up at her with terrified, tear-filled eyes. With his very last breath, he wheezed out the painful truth. telling them that he had been set up and that it was all because of the doctor, Dr. Nikkei, who had murdered his entire family to steal their hidden black market resources and silence them forever. Ben's hand went limp, his eyes staring blankly as the final breath left his body. The horrifying realization clicked into place, but before they could retreat, the heavy blast doors sealed tight around them. From the shadows of the estate's private landing bay stepped the hooded Sith Lord, his modern black mask gleaming under the dim red emergency lights. The figure drew a crimson lightsaber, its harsh hum echoing off the stone walls as he raised the weapon in a dark challenge. Rey drew her yellow blade, lunging forward to meet the Dark Warrior in a collision of sparks. As they traded powerful blows, Sunny maneuvered around the flank, using her specialized shock baton to strike at the attacker's guard. Rey executed a sweeping force push, hurling the bomber against a heavy steel doorway. The impact cracked the black helmet, and Sunny swept in with a desperate upward strike, completely shattering the metal mask to the floor. The face revealed beneath the jagged fragments belonged to Denry. Sunny froze, her breath catching in her throat as her eyes widened in absolute shock and heartbreak. The man who had kissed her under the stars, who had held her with soft hands and promised her a quiet life by the sea, stood before her with a cruel, ruthless sneer. Denry wiped the blood from his cheek and laughed softly at her disbelief, mocking her weakness and bragging about how easy it had been to play the dutiful lover while preparing the city's destruction. A fearsome, desperate battle erupted between Sunny and the unmasked Denry. Fueled by a bitter cocktail of rage, betrayal, and heartbreak, Sunny swung her shock baton with lethal speed, driving Denry backward against the starship gangway. Denry parried furiously with his crimson blade, his eyes burning with dark side intensity as he taunted her with every exchange, swinging wildly to kill the woman he had claimed to love moments before. They crashed into the control panels, sparks sprang everywhere as Sunny ducked under a lethal slash, striking Denry violently across his chest and arm, searing his flesh. Bleeding profusely and overwhelmed by Sunny's furious assault and Rey's imminent intervention, Denry hurled a concussive grenade onto the platform. The blinding flash knocked Sunny and Rey back, giving Denry just enough time to drag his wounded body into a sleek, modern TIE fighter parked on the private pad. The engines screamed to life with a deafening whine, and the starfighter blasted out into the night sky, vanishing into the storm clouds toward the northern ranges. The wounded TIE fighter touched down inside a hidden subterranean Green Corps laboratory, tucked deep within the jagged northern mountains. Denry stumbled out of the cockpit, clutching his burnt, bleeding arm, his breathing ragged as he fell to his knees on the sterile white floor. Dr. Nikkei stepped out from the primary control console, showing no surprise or sympathy for the broken young man. It was Nikkei who had been orchestrating everything from the start, grooming Denry from a simple defense officer into a vessel of dark rage, supplying him with the mask, the weapons, and the radical dogma needed to tear down the New Republic. Nikkei casually tossed a medical wrap to the bleeding young man, dismissing his failure to eliminate Skywalker as a mere minor inconvenience. Nikkei turned away from Denry, walking toward the center of the massive underground chamber. There, suspended inside a giant glass vat filled with glowing dark fluid and ancient alchemical conduits, rested the preserved genetic material and ancient armor fragments of Darth Vader. Dr. Nikkei raised his hands toward the dark vat, his voice echoing through the cold stone hall as he began chanting ancient, forbidden Sith curses in a low, guttural tongue. Dark energy crackled along the glass, casting eerie purple shadows across the lab. As the dark incantations swelled in volume, Nikke smiled with sinister triumph, preparing the ritual to bring forth the ultimate shadow and usher in a terrifying new dawn for the Sith. Outside the mountain facility, a heavy thunderstorm began to roll over the peaks, lightning illuminating the jagged rocks. Rey, Finn, Poe, and Sunny landed their shuttle on a ridge just above the secret entrance, tracking the TIE fighter signal through the atmospheric interference. Sunny adjusted her gear, her jaw set with newfound determination as she looked down at the dark entrance below, ready to confront the Master and the Apprentice once and for all. Rey placed a supportive hand on Sunny's shoulder, sensing the turmoil and strength within her daughter. Poe checked his blaster rifles, handing one to Finn as they prepared to breach the blast doors. The final fight for New Ethelgard was about to begin beneath the echoing thunder, where the light of a mother and daughter would face the reborn darkness waiting in the depths below.